Bikers tailgate a couple's car. What they discover about the driver leaves them silent. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson as John and Sarah drove along the lonely desert highway. The couple had been married for 5 years, their love a steadfast anchor in the turbulent seas of life. John, a decorated military veteran, gripped the steering wheel with a quiet confidence born from years of service and sacrifice. Sarah, her hand resting gently on his thigh, radiated a deep trust in her husband's strength and capability. Behind them, a distant rumble shattered the tranquil evening. John glanced in the rearview mirror, his eyes narrowing as he spotted the source of the disturbance, a gang of bikers, their chrome gleaming menacingly in the fading light. The gang, known as the Reapers, had a reputation for terrorizing the highways with their reckless intimidation tactics. They preyed on the weak and the vulnerable, reveling in the fear they instilled in their victims. As the bikers drew closer, their engines roaring like a pack of ravenous beasts, John remained calm, his features etched with determination. Sarah squeezed his thigh reassuringly, her faith in him unwavering. The Reapers closed in, their laughter carrying on the wind, a sinister symphony of cruelty and arrogance. The highway stretched out before them, a ribbon of asphalt cutting through the barren landscape. In the distance, the jagged silhouettes of mountains loomed, their peaks painted in the fiery hues of the setting sun. John and Sarah had been on the road for hours, their destination a remote cabin nestled in the heart of the wilderness, a place where they could escape the chaos of the world and find solace in each other's company. But now, as the Reapers drew ever closer, their plans for a peaceful getaway seemed to crumble before their eyes. John's jaw clenched, his mind racing as he calculated their options, determined to protect his wife at any cost. Sarah, her eyes fixed on the road ahead, whispered a silent prayer, her faith in John's strength and resilience unwavering in the face of the approaching danger. Jax, the leader of the Reapers, signaled to his crew to initiate their twisted game. They surrounded John and Sarah's car, their bikes mere inches from the bumper, revving their engines in a deafening cacophony. Jax grinned, his eyes glinting with malice as he anticipated the terror he expected to see on the faces of their prey. But as he pulled alongside the driver's side window, Jax's grin faltered. The man behind the wheel, his features chiseled and his gaze unwavering, showed no signs of fear. Instead, there was a quiet strength emanating from him, a resolute determination that unsettled Jax to his core. Perplexed and irritated, Jax motioned for his gang to escalate their harassment. They swerved in front of the car, cutting it off repeatedly, their laughter growing more manic with each dangerous maneuver. Yet, the driver remained unshaken, his composure a stark contrast to the chaos that swirled around him. Jax's pride, a fragile thing built upon a foundation of fear and intimidation, began to crack under the weight of John's unflappable demeanor. He had encountered countless victims before, their eyes wide with terror, their bodies trembling as they pleaded for mercy. But this man, this unassuming driver, refused to cower, refused to give Jax the satisfaction he so desperately craved. As the Reapers continued their relentless assault, Jax's frustration mounted. He revved his engine, the sound a deafening roar that echoed through the night, a desperate attempt to reassert his dominance. But even as the sound washed over him, Jax could feel the first tendrils of doubt creeping into his mind, a nagging sensation that he had grossly underestimated the man behind the wheel. As the Reapers' tactics grew more aggressive, John's mind raced, evaluating the situation with the precision of a seasoned soldier. He knew that engaging with the bikers would only lead to senseless violence, an outcome he wished to avoid at all costs. Instead, he focused on maintaining control, his hands steady on the wheel as he navigated the treacherous road. Sarah, her trust in John absolute, remained calm, her presence a soothing balm amidst the storm. She understood the depths of her husband's strength, the scars he carried both physically and emotionally from his time in the military. In him, she saw a man who had faced true danger, who understood the value of life and the importance of choosing one's battles wisely. The bikers, growing increasingly frustrated by their inability to elicit the desired response, made a final, reckless move. They forced John's car to a stop, their bikes skidding to a halt in a cloud of dust and exhaust. They dismounted, their postures menacing as they surrounded the vehicle, ready to unleash their pent-up aggression. John's heart raced, adrenaline coursing through his veins as he assessed the situation. He knew that he was outnumbered, that the bikers were armed and dangerous. But he also knew that he had faced worse odds before, that he had emerged victorious from battles far more perilous than this. Sarah, her hand finding his in the darkness, gave him a gentle squeeze, a silent reminder of the love and support that had carried them through countless trials. In that moment, John drew strength from her presence, from the unbreakable bond that had seen them through the darkest of times. As the bikers closed in, their faces twisted with malice, John steeled himself for the confrontation to come. He knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, that the choices he made in the next few moments could mean the difference between life and death. But he also knew that he would face whatever challenges lay ahead with the same unwavering courage and determination that had seen him through the trials of his past. John stepped out of the car, his movements deliberate and purposeful. He stood tall, his broad shoulders and muscular frame a testament to his physical prowess. But it was the look in his eyes, a piercing gaze that seemed to penetrate the very souls of the bikers, that truly set him apart. Jax, his bravado faltering in the face of John's unshakable presence, stepped forward, his hand resting on the hilt of a knife tucked into his belt. He sneered, his words dripping with venom. "You think you're tough, old man? You have no idea who you're messing with." John remained silent, his eyes locked onto Jax's, a silent challenge hanging in the air between them. The other bikers shifted uneasily, their earlier confidence beginning to waver in the face of this unexpected adversary. In that moment, Sarah emerged from the car, her hand slipping into John's, a silent show of support and unity. Together, they faced the gang, a united front against the forces of chaos and intimidation. Jax's eyes darted between John and Sarah, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his features. He had expected an easy target, a couple who would cower in fear at the mere sight of the Reapers. But now, faced with the unwavering strength and unity of the pair before him, Jax found himself at a loss. The other bikers, sensing their leader's hesitation, began to murmur amongst themselves, their whispers carrying on the night wind. Some, their eyes wide with a growing realization, began to back away, their earlier bravado giving way to a creeping sense of unease. John, his voice calm and measured, finally spoke. "We don't want any trouble. We're just passing through. Let us be on our way, and we'll forget this ever happened." Jax, his pride warring with the unfamiliar sensation of fear, hesitated for a moment. He glanced at his fellow bikers, their faces a mix of uncertainty and trepidation. In that instant, he knew that he had a choice to make, a decision that would shape the course of the night and the lives of all those present. As the standoff continued, John's mind raced, his years of military training and experience kicking into high gear. He analyzed the situation, taking stock of the bikers' positions, their weapons, and their body language. He knew that violence was not the answer, that true strength lay in the ability to defuse a situation through wits and wisdom. Jax, growing impatient with John's silence, took a step forward, his knife glinting in the moonlight. "Last chance, old man. Give us what we want, and maybe we'll let you walk away." John, his voice calm and measured, finally spoke. "And what is it that you want? To prove your strength through fear and intimidation? To take what doesn't belong to you? Is that what you call power?" Jax hesitated, taken aback by John's words. He had expected fear, pleading, or even anger, but not this quiet, unwavering strength. The other bikers exchanged uneasy glances, their resolve beginning to crumble in the face of John's unshakable presence. Sarah, her eyes fixed on Jax, spoke then, her voice soft yet filled with a quiet determination. "There's more to life than this, than the path you've chosen. You have the power to change, to be better than this." Jax, his eyes widening at Sarah's words, felt a flicker of something unfamiliar stirring within him. It was a feeling he had long since buried, a yearning for a life beyond the one he had chosen, a life filled with purpose and meaning. But the moment was fleeting, and Jax, his pride and ego reasserting themselves, shook off the momentary doubt. He sneered, his grip tightening on the knife. "You don't know anything about me, about us. You think you're better than we are, with your fancy words and your self-righteous attitude." John, his eyes never leaving Jax's, spoke once more. "It's not about being better. It's about choosing to be better, about rising above the mistakes of the past and forging a new path forward. As the words hung in the air, the bikers shifted uneasily, their eyes darting between their leader and the couple who stood before them. In that moment, the seeds of change had been planted, and the future, once so certain, now hung in the balance. John continued, his voice steady and commanding. True power, true strength, comes from within. It comes from the ability to face one's fears, to stand up for what is right, even in the face of adversity. It comes from the courage to choose a better path, to rise above the petty desires that drive lesser men. As he spoke, John's words began to resonate with some of the bikers. They saw in him a man who had faced real danger, who had stared death in the face and emerged stronger for it. They began to question their own actions, their own motivations, and the emptiness of the life they had chosen. Jax, his eyes narrowing, refusing to be swayed by John's words, lunged forward, his knife poised to strike. But John, his reflexes honed by years of combat, easily sidestepped the attack, disarming Jax with a swift, precise movement. The knife clattered to the ground, and Jax found himself on his knees, John's hand firmly gripping his shoulder. In that moment, the balance of power shifted, and the bikers, their eyes wide with a newfound respect, began to see John in a different light. He was not just a man, but a force to be reckoned with, a beacon of strength and integrity in a world that had long since forgotten the meaning of those words. Sarah, her heart swelling with pride and love, watched as her husband stood tall, a living embodiment of the values he held dear. She knew, in that instant, that their love, their unbreakable bond, had been forged in the fires of adversity, tempered by the trials they had faced together. As Jax knelt before John, his pride shattered, his once unshakable belief in his own power crumbling to dust, the other bikers began to lower their weapons, their postures shifting from aggression to something akin to respect. They had borne witness to something extraordinary, a display of true strength and courage that had left them humbled and awed. And in that moment, as the night wind whispered through the desert, the seeds of change that had been planted began to take root, their tendrils spreading out, reaching for the light of a new dawn. The other bikers, seeing their leader so easily defeated, began to back away, their earlier bravado replaced by a growing sense of uncertainty. John, his gaze sweeping over the gang, spoke once more. You have a choice, each and every one of you. You can continue down this path, a path of destruction and despair, or you can choose to be better. To be more than what you are now. Some of the bikers, their eyes downcast, began to remove their helmets, their faces etched with shame and regret. They saw in John a man they could aspire to be, a man who embodied the values they had long since forgotten. Others, their pride and ego too deeply entrenched, sneered and revved their engines, unwilling to accept defeat at the hands of a single man. They rode off into the night, their taillights fading into the darkness, a reminder of the long and difficult road ahead for those who clung to their misguided ways. Jax, his face a mask of conflicting emotions, slowly rose to his feet, his eyes fixed on John. In the span of a few short moments, his world had been turned upside down, his beliefs challenged in a way he had never before experienced. John, his hand still resting on Jax's shoulder, spoke softly, his words meant for the biker's ears alone. It's never too late to change, to make amends for the mistakes of the past. The road ahead won't be easy, but it's a journey worth taking. Jax, his eyes glistening with the faintest hint of tears, nodded slowly, a newfound understanding dawning upon him. He had spent so long chasing power, seeking to fill the void within him with the trappings of violence and intimidation. But now, faced with the quiet strength and wisdom of the man before him, he began to see the emptiness of that life, the hollow victory of an existence built upon fear. As the remaining bikers gathered around John and Sarah, their faces a mix of awe and uncertainty, the couple knew that their work had only just begun. They had sparked a flame, a glimmer of hope in the darkness, but it would take time and patience to nurture that flame into a beacon of change. In the aftermath of the confrontation, John and Sarah found themselves surrounded by a small group of bikers who had chosen to stay behind. These men, their faces lined with the weight of their past mistakes, looked to John with a newfound respect and admiration. John, his voice filled with compassion, addressed the remaining bikers. Each of you has the power to change, to become something greater than what you are now. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight, but with dedication and perseverance, you can transform your lives and the lives of those around you. The bikers, their heads nodding in agreement, listened intently to John's words. They saw in him a mentor, a guide who could lead them out of the darkness and into a brighter future. Sarah, her heart overflowing with love and pride, stepped forward, her voice soft yet filled with conviction. We believe in you, in the potential that lies within each and every one of you. You have the strength, the courage, to break free from the chains of your past and forge a new path. The bikers, their eyes glistening with the faintest hint of hope, began to share their stories, the tales of the choices and circumstances that had led them to this moment. They spoke of broken homes and shattered dreams, of the lure of the open road and the false promises of power and respect. As John and Sarah listened, their hearts ached for the pain and suffering these men had endured. They saw in them not hardened criminals, but lost souls, individuals who had strayed from the path of righteousness and found themselves trapped in a cycle of violence and despair. But even amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of light, a spark of hope that refused to be extinguished. And as the night wore on, as the stories were shared and the bonds of understanding began to form, John and Sarah knew that they had been called to this moment, to this place, for a reason. They had been given a chance to make a difference, to guide these men towards a better future, and they would not let that chance slip away. With love, compassion, and unwavering determination, they would walk alongside these bikers, supporting them every step of the way as they embarked upon the long and difficult journey of redemption. In the days and weeks that followed, John and Sarah worked closely with the bikers who had chosen to embrace change. They organized meetings, provided resources, and offered guidance and support as the men struggled to break free from their old ways and build new, meaningful lives. The transformation was not without its challenges. Some of the bikers, their old habits deeply ingrained, faltered and stumbled along the way. But John and Sarah, their commitment unwavering, were there to catch them when they fell, to offer encouragement and support when the road grew difficult. Slowly but surely, the bikers began to change. They found new purpose in honest work, in the bonds of friendship and community, and in the knowledge that they were part of something greater than themselves. Jax, the once feared leader of the Reapers, emerged as a true force for change. Under John's guidance, he began to channel his natural leadership skills into positive outlets, becoming a mentor and role model for the other bikers who sought to turn their lives around. Together, John, Sarah, and the former Reapers worked to build a new community, one founded on the principles of respect, compassion, and mutual support. They volunteered their time and energy to local charities, using their skills and strength to help those in need. As word of their efforts spread, others began to take notice. The local media, once filled with tales of the Reapers' misdeeds, now spoke of the incredible transformation taking place, of the power of second chances and the indomitable human spirit. And through it all, John and Sarah remained the guiding light, the unwavering pillars of strength and love that held the community together. They opened their hearts and their home to the bikers, creating a safe haven where they could find acceptance, understanding, and the support they needed to continue on their journey of redemption. As the weeks turned into months, the bikers began to see themselves in a new light. They were no longer defined by their past mistakes, but by the choices they made each day, the small acts of kindness and compassion that rippled out into the world, touching the lives of countless others. And as they grew and changed, as they learned to love and trust and hope again, they knew that they owed it all to John and Sarah, to the couple who had seen beyond the surface, who had believed in them when they could not believe in themselves. With each passing day, the community grew stronger, the bonds of friendship and family deepening and expanding. And though the road ahead was still long and filled with challenges, they knew that they would face them together, united in their commitment to building a better world, one small act of kindness at a time. As the weeks turned into months, the impact of John and Sarah's efforts began to ripple outward, touching the lives of countless others. The once feared Reapers, now a force for positive change, became a symbol of hope and redemption in their community. They organized charity rides, raising money for those in need. They volunteered their time and skills, helping to rebuild homes and lives shattered by misfortune. And they shared their stories, their tales of transformation and triumph, inspiring others to follow in their footsteps. John and Sarah, their hearts filled with pride and gratitude, watched as the seeds they had planted took root and blossomed into something beautiful. They knew that change was possible, that even the most hardened hearts could be softened by the power of compassion and understanding. As the community grew and flourished, John and Sarah found themselves at the center of a movement, a wave of positive change that was sweeping across the land. They were invited to speak at schools, community centers, and even prisons, sharing their message of hope and redemption with all who would listen. And as they spoke, as they shared their stories and their wisdom, they began to see the true scope of their impact. They had set out to change the lives of a few lost souls, but in doing so, they had sparked a revolution, a shift in the very fabric of society. People from all walks of life began to take notice, drawn to the incredible tale of the couple who had faced down the forces of darkness and emerged victorious. They came from far and wide, seeking guidance, inspiration, and the chance to be a part of something greater than themselves. And John and Sarah, their hearts overflowing with love and gratitude, welcomed them all. They knew that the journey was far from over, that there would always be challenges and obstacles to overcome. But they also knew that they had found their true calling, their purpose in life. They had been blessed with the opportunity to make a difference, to touch the lives of countless others and help them find their way back to the light. And as they looked out over the sea of faces, the smiling, hopeful eyes of those they had helped and those they had yet to reach, they knew that they would never stop fighting, never stop believing in the power of love and compassion to change the world. Years passed, and the legacy of John and Sarah's actions continued to grow. The bikers, once lost and broken, had become leaders in their own right, guiding others down the path of redemption and hope. Jax, the former leader of the Reapers, had undergone the most remarkable transformation of all. He had sought out John, humbling himself before the man he had once sought to destroy, and begged for his forgiveness and guidance. Under John's tutelage, Jax had become a force for good, a shining example of the power of second chances and the resilience of the human spirit. He had started a program for at-risk youth, providing them with the tools and support they needed to avoid the mistakes he had once made. The program, born from the ashes of Jax's past, had grown and flourished, touching the lives of countless young people who might otherwise have been lost to the cycle of violence and despair. And as Jax watched them grow and change, as he saw the hope and the promise in their eyes, he knew that he had found his true calling. Sarah, her heart filled with pride and love, had become a mentor to the women in the community, offering them the support and guidance they needed to break free from the chains of abuse and oppression. She had started a shelter, a safe haven where they could find refuge and the strength to build new lives for themselves and their children. Together, John and Sarah had become the heart and soul of the community, the guiding light that showed the way forward. They had faced challenges and setbacks, moments of doubt and despair, but they had never wavered in their commitment to the cause. And as they looked back on the years that had passed, on the lives they had touched and the changes they had wrought, they knew that it had all been worth it. They had been given a gift, a chance to make a difference in the world, and they had embraced it with all their hearts. They had learned that true power, true strength, came not from the ability to dominate others, but from the willingness to lift them up, to help them find their way. And as they looked to the future, to the work that still lay ahead, they knew that they would never stop fighting, never stop believing in the power of love and compassion to change the world, one life at a time. As John and Sarah looked back on their journey, they marveled at the impact a single moment of courage and compassion could have on the world. They had faced adversity, stared down the darkness, and emerged stronger and more determined than ever. Their love, the foundation upon which all else was built, had been the guiding light that led them through the storm. It was a love that had been tested, a love that had endured, and a love that had ultimately triumphed over the forces that sought to tear them apart. In each other, they found the strength to carry on, to face the challenges that lay ahead with grace and determination. They knew that, together, they could weather any storm, overcome any obstacle, and build a life filled with purpose and meaning. As they sat in the quiet of their home, surrounded by the mementos of a life well lived, John and Sarah reflected on the lessons they had learned, the wisdom they had gained. They had come to understand that life was a precious gift, a fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of the universe. They had learned to cherish each day, to find joy in the simple things, and to never take for granted the love and the laughter that filled their hearts. They had learned to forgive, to let go of the past and embrace the present, to find peace in the knowledge that they had done their best to make the world a better place. And as they looked to the future, to the years that stretched out before them, they knew that they would face whatever lay ahead with the same courage, the same determination, and the same unwavering love that had brought them to this moment. They had each other, and they had the love and support of a community that had grown and flourished under their guidance. They had the satisfaction of knowing that they had made a difference, that they had touched the lives of countless others and helped them find their way. And as the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the world they had helped to build, John and Sarah knew that they were exactly where they were meant to be, doing exactly what they were meant to do. They had found their purpose, their calling, and they would never let it go. As the sun set on another day, John and Sarah sat on the porch of their home, their hands intertwined, their hearts full. They watched as a group of bikers rode by, their engines purring softly, their faces etched with the contentment that comes from a life well lived. The bikers waved, their smiles wide and genuine, a testament to the bonds of friendship and respect that had been forged in the crucible of adversity. John and Sarah waved back, their own smiles a reflection of the pride and joy they felt in the lives they had touched, the difference they had made. They knew that their journey was far from over, that there would always be challenges to face and obstacles to overcome. But they also knew that they had the strength, the courage, and the love to meet those challenges head-on, to stand tall in the face of adversity, and to emerge victorious. As the bikers disappeared into the distance, John and Sarah turned to each other, their eyes shining with the love and devotion that had sustained them through the years. They had come so far, had achieved so much, and yet they knew that their greatest adventures still lay ahead. They had each other, and they had the love and support of a community that had become their family. They had the satisfaction of knowing that they had lived a life of purpose, a life dedicated to the service of others and the betterment of the world. And as the stars began to appear in the sky above, John and Sarah knew that they were ready for whatever lay ahead. They had faced the darkness and emerged stronger, more resilient, and more determined than ever. They had learned that true happiness, true fulfillment, came not from the acquisition of material wealth or the pursuit of selfish desires, but from the simple act of giving, of sharing one's heart and one's talents with those in need. And as they sat there, hand in hand, their hearts overflowing with gratitude and love, John and Sarah knew that they had found the secret to a life well lived. They had found each other, and they had found their place in the world, and they would never let it go. As the night descended, John and Sarah held each other close, their hearts beating as one. They looked to the future with hope and anticipation, knowing that the best was yet to come. Their love, the catalyst that had set them on this path, would continue to guide them, to light the way through the darkness and lead them to a brighter tomorrow. They had learned that true power lies not in the ability to instill fear, but in the capacity to inspire hope, to change lives, and to make a difference in the world. And so, as they stepped forward into the unknown, John and Sarah did so with the knowledge that they were not alone, that they were part of something greater than themselves. They were the embodiment of courage, hope, and resilience, a shining example of the indomitable human spirit. Their story, the tale of two hearts that beat as one, would be remembered long after they were gone, a testament to the enduring power of love, compassion, and the unbreakable bonds of the human family. As the moon rose high into the sky, casting its gentle light upon the world below, John and Sarah knew that they had been blessed, that they had been given a rare and precious gift. They had found each other, and in doing so, they had found themselves. They had learned that life was not about the destination, but about the journey, about the moments of joy and sorrow, of laughter and tears, that made up the tapestry of their existence. They had learned to embrace each moment, to live each day to the fullest, and to never take for granted the love and the blessings that surrounded them. And as they drifted off to sleep, wrapped in each other's arms, John and Sarah knew that they were exactly where they were meant to be. They had found their home, their haven, in the warmth of each other's embrace, and in the love and the light that filled their hearts. They were the beacons of hope, the pillars of strength, that would guide others through the storms of life. They were the living embodiment of the power of love, the proof that even in the darkest of times, there was always a reason to believe, to hope, and to carry on. And so, as the world slumbered, John and Sarah held each other close, their hearts filled with peace and contentment, knowing that they had lived a life worth living, a life filled with purpose, with meaning, and with love. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Their story, the tale of two hearts that beat as one, would live on, inspiring generations yet to come, a reminder of the incredible power of the human spirit, and the unbreakable bonds of love that tie us all together. And in the end, that was the greatest legacy of all.